Hey everyone, it's Pastor Justin here, coming to you with today's Thursday's video on leadership and transformation. And I've been going through my goals for 2025 over the last several weeks. We started out with content and what does it mean for us to craft content, to create content, to curate content, as well as how does then that affect our convocations, our assemblies, our gathering together in worship and other meetings and stuff. And that moves us to this second goal of what does it mean for us to conceive the campus this year and ultimately work on the construct of the campus as well. And so I want us to step back and think about what does it mean to conceive, to conceptualize, to craft, to construct, how each one of these words have their own meaning to it, particularly as it relates to our facilities and our land, as well as how each one has a difference to it as well, that when we are conceiving of our campus, of where our church meets, where our church in many ways centers itself. What does it mean for us to conceive? What does it mean for us to imagine? What does it mean for us to dream? What does it mean for us to look out from the present moment into the future and go, this is where we will meet and the kind of things that we will do in this meeting place and space. This is what our land is for and how it will serve not only our congregation, but our community and the world. And so I want you to begin thinking about facilities and land as gift from God that must be stewarded. That is something that we can't just sit on and allow to just exist, kind of like if you remember the parable of the talents in Matthew 25, there's talents given out, one person gets like 10 or 12 of them, and then one person gets 3 or 5 of them, and then there's the person who gets one, and the one who only gets one takes that and is afraid and is anxious and goes and buries it. And then when the master comes, the master's very angry with that person and actually throws them into Gehenna, into the fires, because the gifts weren't meant to be sit on. They're meant to be utilized. They're meant to be used. They're meant to be a gift that we steward and invest in. And so what does it mean for us to see our facilities and the land as this place that facilitates God's presence in and among us, and then us in and among the community? And having that right relationship with the facilities and the land is very, very important, because what often happens is that we value these things, but we value them in the way that society values these kinds of things. And so facilities and land become buildings and property, right? And as they become buildings and property, oftentimes they take an idolatrous place in the life of a church. And rather than being a gift that we steward, we begin to see them as ours, mine, right? And when we see them as mine or ours, in that sense, like, oh, this is us, right? It becomes an identity marker. And so anytime we decide to go and make a change to a building or to the property, people, immediately have this deep, deep sense of ownership and identity that is all fused with that same land and those facilities, rather than realizing, like, how does this facilitate the work of God in this space, in this place, in this community? And so we have to have this right relationship with the land and with our facilities. And that moves me into this idea of space and place in general, of what does it mean for us to conceive of spaces and places in our lives as a faith community and in our lives as individuals, and go, what does it mean for this place to be sacred, for this space to be holy? What does it mean for you and I to name a place as holy and sacred? And what happens in that place and space? And are we able to take that sense of sacredness and holiness into other spaces and places that are mundane or even profane and make them holy, make them sacred because we have named it, we have defined it, we have set it apart and made it special and said, no, I claim this space in the name of Jesus Christ. And so then that brings us to conceptualizing and crafting spaces and places in all of the places that you and I go. And so, what does it mean for us to take this goal that we have for our church this year and make it a goal in our individual lives and go, I'm going to craft, conceive, conceptualize, construct spaces and places in my life that become a place where I say God is here, and that I invite others into that space and place, no matter what's going on in the world. And sometimes that space and place can literally be in a grocery store as you're standing in line waiting to pay. Sometimes that space and place can be your car while you're stuck in traffic. Sometimes that space and place can be some of the most conflictual areas of our lives, and we carve out this space and go, this right here is a space that God occupies. And as such, I need to proclaim the good news of this space that God is in to the people around me. My hope is that as we are getting into these goals that I have for myself as the senior pastor, as we have for our church this year, that you can begin translating them into your own life as well. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining me today.